Hey everybody, welcome. This video is going to be a little different because we're not actually going to be learning new material this time. We're actually going to be talking about IB and what is required of us next year. So in math and several other classes, we have to write what is known as an IA, our internal assessment, which is essentially an essay. A few of the classes, the even classes, talked about this with me before spring break. So, 7th hour, you haven't got to talk about this with me, so you're kind of at a disadvantage, but that's okay. So, what I'm going to do, and what you may have already seen, is that in Google Classroom, I'm going to post the IA criteria for math. It tells you the purpose, it gives you directions, and then it also gives you the rubric that I'm going to be using to grade this, that IB is going to use to grade this as well. And what you really need to do is go through and read it. You don't have to read every single word. It's probably better if you do, but skimming through it is just fine, at least for now. Next year, we're really going to be diving into that, looking at it senior year. And the biggest part about this is every single person in this class has to write their own essay. You can talk with a partner, you can ask me for help, but it is mostly going to be your own project. You and another person in our entire school cannot have the same topic. You can do similar things, but you have to be focusing on something different. For instance, you and your friend can both have a project about the same sport, about football, but you can't talk about the same things. One person talks about A subject, the other person talks about B subject, but they're both about football. Now, so I'm going to share my screen and we're going to look through this document really quickly. I'm not going to put a whole lot of time into that. There we go. All right, so right here, this is the document I have posted on Google Classroom. So you can pull it up now. And this is the mathematical exploration, or your internal assessment, or your IA. There's so many different names for it. This is what you have to do for math. Eventually, you're going to pick a topic, something that you're really interested in, because if you're not interested in your topic, you're going to be bored, and then your essay is going to be bored. It's going to be boring, and then I have to read it and grade it, and then I'm going to be bored. It's just this domino effect of boredom, and you're going to get a lower score because it's not written well and all those lovely things. So you can go ahead and read through this. The weighting is 20% of your overall IB grade for math, so it really does take a good chunk. So if you do really well on it, it's going to get you a better IB score. Now, what this first introduction is talking about is basically you have to write your essay about math. It can be over football, or it can be over anything you want, but you have to do math in the essay because it's a math essay. Makes sense. You can go ahead and read through this. It says the final report should be about 12 to 20 pages long with double line spacing, meaning if you don't double space, it's really like a 6 to 10 page paper. But since you're double spacing, it's going to be a lot more. This is a range. It can be longer, but I don't need to read 30 pages of fluff. You don't need to write 30 pages of fluff. The purpose is pretty straightforward. You know, we're trying to advance your understanding of math and bring it into the real world, especially in our class. So make sure you just go ahead and read through all these bullet points. Now, what we get here, the rest of this document is the rubric. I will print this out and I'm going to be reading through this exact thing all through here and giving you a score for the first criterion. So you can go ahead and read through that. Now, each score here has a very short sentence. It says, to get full marks here, 4 points, the exploration is coherent, well organized, and concise. Well, those definitions are different from person to person, are different from me to another teacher, to the people at IB who will be looking at this. But underneath, it kind of tells you what each of those things mean. So eventually, when you start writing this, you have the rubric in front of you. You can talk about, hey, is my work coherent? Meaning it's logically developed and it's easy to follow and it follows what you stated in the beginning. If you said I'm going to talk about dolphins and end up talking about giraffes, there's a disconnect. Unless there's a good transition between those two. Don't know how. Have fun with that. All right. And you just keep going. There's tons and tons of different things. So you can go ahead and read through that. I don't want to talk about everything through here. So let's go ahead and exit that screen share. So this is what we're going to be focusing on now. I really wanted to talk about the IA during fourth quarter, but because of our situation, it didn't work out that way. So I was going to slowly introduce this to you guys. We would slowly talk about it and incorporate it into all the new material that we were learning. That didn't work out. So what we need to do is start thinking almost constantly in the back of your brain, what topic could you write your essay about? You don't have to have a perfectly thought out plan right now. When we get back to school in August, we're going to be talking about this all together. You'll be able to talk with your friends and determine what is best for you. So, your first assignment for the IA is you need to look for a topic that you would be interested in. And on the announcement that I put on Google Classroom, you need to comment on that this week in order to get your points. Now, let's talk about all the different steps to building this IA up. To be clear, don't freak out yet. It's a 12 to 20 page paper, but you are not starting to write it yet. Don't try to do that. We're getting a basic idea. This is the brainstorming session. So the first thing you have to come up with is a few topics that you are really interested in about. If you're interested in sports, pick that one. If you're interested in medicine or anything along those lines, look into that. One of the seniors this year actually really likes video games, and he went ahead and found data on his favorite video game and was able to do something with that. So it can be anything from sports to medicine to video games to favorite flavors of ice cream. It could be anything. Something, not one of my students, but another teacher told me that many, many years ago, a student loved the guitar and they would play a chord, and they actually borrowed a machine from the science department that would take the sound waves from the chord that they would play on the guitar, and then they used their math skills to graph those sound waves, which was really interesting. And it's actually would be your sinusoidal so your sines and cosines and anything else like that, which we've done. So you can do that. Super, super cool. Now, if you talk to one of your friends who are maybe older, who have already done their math IA, or a sibling, or you go on the internet and you Google, obviously we're not going to plagiarize because that is wrong. Don't do that. But we can use the internet to help us. So maybe you go ahead and Google and you go, oh, that's a really cool topic. Don't do exactly what they did. There are so many different things that we can do. So don't do the exact same thing. If you look on the internet and they have this wonderful topic that you're super interested in and it's the best thing ever, use it, but then do something different, okay? A lot of times people will do a statistical analysis, which we will really talk about stats at the beginning of next year in August. So we'll be able to go over all those different things. But it could be over anything. It's endless. something. I went to an IB conference this year and we looked at lots of different IAs. A student, he or she was helping with a school bake sale, and they wanted to calculate how much should they sell the donut that they were making. And they calculated all the ingredients to buy it, how much volume one donut had, and how much ingredients it would take to create that, and how much would it cost to make this one donut. And then talked about profit, and if they sold it for a certain price, how much would they profit from that? And of course, they took that way further. So that is our biggest goal here. So reiterate what your assignment is. You go to Google Classroom and write a comment about what kind of topics you are thinking of. It can be very simple, or it can be more in-depth. In-depth could mean, I want to talk about this topic, and it would be really cool. Excuse me. That you want to talk about this one topic, and you already know that you could probably use this math concept that we've already learned or that we're going to learn. And so you kind of have a general idea already. Or it can be very simple where you just say, well, I want to talk about this topic. I want to talk about football. And try to be a little bit more specific. Maybe you want to talk about the stats side of it. With sports, it's very easy to find stats, especially on any professional team, because they're just online for you. But maybe you don't want to look at the stats of touchdowns versus something else. You can do tons of different things. So I really want you guys to get creative in this. Remember, if you're bored writing it, it's going to be a boring paper. And then you're going to get a bad score. So don't write a boring paper. This is the time to brainstorm. So you need to take a little bit of time, think about it. Don't just post something first. I want you to go Google. I want you to research, look into a little bit, talk with your friends, post on Google Classroom your idea with as much information as possible. And you can type multiple ideas, because remember, this isn't exactly the topic that you'll probably pick. And maybe if you suggest something, someone else may really like that and use it in the future. So I really want you guys to make sure you're being creative. Please don't stress about it, because we're not starting to write it yet. We're in the brainstorming process. All right, so that's it for today. I hope you guys are doing well at home. Please make sure that you aren't stressing about anything. School is almost over. This is one of the last things that we're gonna do. We may talk about more IA stuff as the week goes on. And we're still gonna have our Zoom meetings at our normal times. And please come and join just to say hi. Or if you want to talk about the IA a little bit, we can brainstorm back and forth. I can give you ideas, maybe help lead you in the right direction. And it should be a great time. All right, guys, have a good day.